Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D., our big series finale episode. So excited. We've got so much stuff to talk about. But of course, joining me as always, and we switch positions around anywhere just to keep things fresh. We'll start right next to me, right here, from a Dawn of Ice and Fire, Mr. Don Willie.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Glad to be here for the final fans of Shield. I can't believe I just said those words. My God. Um, but as you can see, I do not have my Blu-rays in my hands, so nothing to burn. Obviously, we're gonna get to why. Uh, I have this Under Armour shirt that I bought many, many moons ago that I've literally never worn, that I'm wearing today for the first time. My, my Shield
All
slash
right.
Hydra uh, hoodie that I bought a few years ago at New York Comic Con, and of course, you know what it is. And since it's the last episode, and I've been going with the agent. No, sorry, the director
Director
Mackenzie look.
Mackenzie look. Yeah. Styling. All right. So full shield regalia. And then, of course, on the far side of the screen, way over there, we've got from Smirking Gun Reviews, Rob Stone.
What is going on, everybody? Yeah, it's time to take our parting shots at the 7 years of this wonderful show that's just, through ups and downs and everything. I can't, like, it's not sunk in yet. Even when it was over, when the credits started to roll and there was no stinger, and I was like, man, I still didn't want to turn my TV off just in case, like I was just, so I'm just, I was sitting here like I don't have any. I just have my regular Shield shirt on, but I have my autographed copy of Choke that Clark Gregg directed and signed for me, and I got my Melinda May to Rob from Ming Na Wen. Hey, May. That I
Oh,
got
man, that is awesome.
that I got at C2E2 last year, and how she was such a lovely person, and knowing that, like, hopefully though, when cons come back, we'll get to go meet them again, and it won't just, we're not saying goodbye, we're just, we're saying so long for now, and all these people are going to land on their feet, and we're going to see them in other things, but right now it's a lot, and it's sad, and man, like I'm getting more emotional now than I did in my review. And I went
Yeah.
pretty deep, especially, with my intro and everything, and talking about why we watched, and the reasons to watch, and what it's done for the community and everything else, and how this show has got a small audience, but we are mighty in our fandom. And everybody that showed up here early with comments that were sitting here waiting for us just shows how much you guys love this show as much as we do. And it's an honor that you guys listen to us and choose to watch our reviews and our fan show. And it's just great. And hopefully you guys tune into the other stuff we got going on for this show, because we're not done. We're not done.
No, never done. That is awesome. Yeah. And also, I want to give a little apologies, or at least a little heads up there. It's like 105 here in LA, or at least my little section of it. I have been sweating all day. I've got like 3 fans on me right now. So, yeah, if we get a little glistening look here, sure, I'm emotional, but mostly I'm melting here in the studio. So, yeah, as Rob was saying, we've got a huge number of people live in the chat already, so active. We, of course, have Corey in here, and we'll have a little notice about with Corey a little later on in the show. Silva Surfer, Lily Mac, Babaro, April E. Let me screw down. You guys you are chatting away. So much to talk about. The Rich Room, Devonte Smith, all of you. Oh my God, just amazing. God, I keep scrolling down. You guys are all talking. This is awesome. So yeah, let's kind of get into things. We will have a few other announcements. I know this is the end of the Shield series, but we're not the ends of fans. We will have a notice about that a little bit later on in the show. But we also do want to remind you in just a few weeks, we're not just fans of Agents of Shield. We're also fans of The Boys. That's right, the Amazon series. All right, let's get the comic right there where we're giving Soups the finger. That's going to be Tuesday. Let's see, was it September 8th at 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 Central, 9 Eastern. I got to get all these times down right. So, yes, more things to come. But as always, let's dive right into our big summary. And as always, we're going to start things off with Don. Don, obviously not burning those Blu-rays. Must have been a little satisfied with this finale. Give me your thoughts. Let everybody know what you're thinking.
I mean, well, listen. Obviously, there was a lot. The first half we learned a lot about the return of our man Fitz.
Mm-hmm.
We have what seems to be a monkey wrench thrown into the works when it comes to the Shield agents, because you have Daisy, Mac, and Sousa, get on board on the Zephyr, and when they get tractored into the Chronicom ship, they're like, why is there no one here? Why is there a dead guy on the floor? This is ominous.
To say the least.
Yeah, and so obviously, there were things about this that we kind of were floating about with as far as the ideas, what we thought was going to happen, and it seems like we were pretty wrong for a lot of it.
Yes, we were.
There was no double cross from Nathaniel.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't even really a double cross from the Chronicoms that we were expecting. It was like, we were expecting the bad guys to kind of duke it out in the end, because that's what bad guys do when they have plans that are at odds, and like, that
Right.
didn't happen. But but it was fine though. Interesting that they allowed Nathaniel to have 2 inhuman powers. That was interesting. Yeah, shout out to April E. Mac and Sousa using the duct tape on the Chronicom strapped to the missiles. Yes, that was like
an awesome use. Yeah.
Yes, of course. May finally accepting her role as the cavalry. The cavalry.
That was awesome.
Oh man.
So
Coulson that is now a tech genius.
Right.
And Deke the D is now rock star / director of Shield.
He's living his dream for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting. And what's funny, because like at first I was feeling sad for Deke, because here you have this guy who his original timeline is erased, and now he's in the original timeline of his grandparents, where he's wondering whether or not he's even going to ever come to fruition. And then he's got to worry about whether or not he meets his future self at that point. And now it comes to a point where, you know, he's built the life in this other timeline where
Mhm.
the girl that he was infatuated with is never going to be born. Uh, his grandparents at that point either might be kids or they might not be born yet, and he might not ever come to fruition in that timeline, but he is world famous,
Yeah.
and he is the director of Shield.
Yeah.
Uh, so
It couldn't have really
that was
ended
kind of
better for Deke.
crazy. Yeah, I mean, like it's kind of crazy. But it's like it's sad, but at the same point, like he gets to make his life the way he wants it, and now it's no holds barred. You know, there's no Mac telling him no more, patents and no
Mhm.
screwing this up that. No, he now everyone's taking orders from him. Uh, and also, you know, thinking about what happened with Garrett, right? Because Garrett realized he got screwed over by Nathaniel because Nathaniel was willing to let him die rather than not blow up the lighthouse. Uh, I felt kind of bad for him for a moment, because he's like, hey, okay, look, all right, fine. I saw a future that told me that you guys were going to betray me, and now here you are saving my life. Fine, I'm with you guys. I'm 100% Shield. And then the moment he uses his powers to go and drop them off in the safe house, bang, right in the head. But poetic justice, because it was Victoria Hand who delivered the killing blow. And later on, I want to get into what the implication for that sequence of events might mean for Deke's timeline.
All right.
Um,
So overall, you felt
so
pretty
yeah,
good about.
yeah, yeah. Listen, was it perfect? No, I still, to me personally, the two best series finales I've ever seen are Breaking Bad and Star Trek: The Next Generation. Those are my
Oh
two favorite series finales ever. And then maybe number three might be The Shield, like the one with Michael Chiklis as
right.
the most crooked of all cricket pops ever. So those are my favorite three um, endings of all time. But this still does a spectacular job. The only thing I wish, because I was driving home from work today.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I was driving home from work today, and I was listening to Avengers Endgame soundtrack. And when Portals came up, I'm like, if only we could have got Deathlock, Triplet, freaking Fury, and Ward and Lincoln, and the hell with
Lincoln.
it.
Yeah. Okay.
Bring back bring back Mr. Hyde as well. The hell with it, man. You know, go all out. Uh, but I definitely like to say that James Paxton did a much better job as Garrett this episode. Probably the best. You know. Oh, Silver Surfer, Ghost Rider. We never got to find out what happened with Ghost Rider after he left.
Yeah.
So yeah, that to me, if they would have done like a little mini portal scene, just grabbing people from the different timelines, the battle against Nathaniel and Inhumans and the Chronicoms. Oh, oh man, I mean, me personally, I've been like, you know what, greatest finale of anything ever. But you can't get everything you
It's true. I mean, that's the balance they often have to have is, and I understand, is there's fan service, which we want to see, and they have to tell a story within the realm and budget and possibilities and stuff that they have. And sometimes that doesn't always come in. Rob, real quick, why don't you give everyone, if they haven't caught your review, your quick feels, because it was definitely emotional at the beginning of your review this week. Where are you standing with stuff? Oh, mic's out. There you go.
I tried to mute it, and then I'm still working on it. I got this new mic from Don, so I'm playing around with it and forgot to hit the unmute button so I could listen to him and not have any feedback. Yeah, I got a little, more touchy-feely in my review at the beginning. I wanted to talk to everybody out there, but as far as the episode goes in particular, I mean, yeah, it was not perfect. I feel like you noticed a lot more with the villains in this and the lack of, like, it just didn't really feel like that important, the impact that was going on, like, and that, yes, it was Korra that was going to be this huge deal that I really didn't want. And I was audibly watching the episode going, what? No, but I'm not going to talk about that, because that to me just wasn't important. In the end, I said that I wanted to have our characters go out right and get treated respectfully. And I think that we managed for the most part, that we really got that down. I wish we could have gotten more. I do feel like this story could have been wrapped up a lot quicker, because again, our agents, like Sybil says, always find a way. I was like, okay, so through all the percentages she kept talking about, it didn't really matter, when she's just like, yeah, this team always figures it out. But we, again, also Paxton's son did a lot better. I was really, really happy with his work in this episode. It didn't feel like he was trying to do an impersonation of his dad. He was just playing the part that he, was given. Yeah, it was abrupt. In fact, I had to really do a double take to go, did he just get killed? And it was a shame, that because I actually now finally accepted him. And of course, that's what happens. As far as series finales go, I mean, yeah, Breaking Bad's like the high watermark. This is more like Cheers, where it's like you're sad to see it go. You get this whole gang of people, they're still around. The bar's still going to open the next day, but we're just not going to see it. And I think that it's that kind of level where we got a lot of really great character stuff. Everybody got their moment to shine. I really like that they got Deke a happy ending. And speaking of happy endings, this was the most un-Whedon-verse finale of any show that they've done. This, because it was all happy endings and nobody died. And it really took me aback that they really leaned into that. And I mean, Enoch did say, your friends are going to be fine. You're just not going to be a team anymore. And so it should be expected that nobody died, but I kept waiting for it anyway, because there's usually that really hard, all of a sudden out of nowhere death. And the only out of nowhere death we got was from one of the villains. But all in all, by the end of it, I wanted more. And yeah, I really wish we had gotten some of those cameos, more cameos than what the ones that we got. All of them were fine, but they weren't played by the original. Like Hand wasn't the original actress. If we could have gotten Grant Ward or Deathlock or, Bobby or Hunter or anybody to just, even just to be in the background, I don't care, we got Davis, which was nice. And yeah, we got the return of Piper and Flint that had an important role to tie season 6 and 7 together, explain more of the ending of season 6. That was all satisfying. We had the introduction, they incorporated the quantum realm really well. So again, just like Avengers Endgame, they had to go through the quantum realm to get the mission finished. It hung on that. And then we did get Fitz, and we got Fitz, and that was my fist, up in the air, jumping up and down, that he was alive. He wasn't an LMD. He wasn't dead. He didn't have, a disease. The blood work was the pregnancy. We got a little kid out of it. It was also lovely. That scene where he pulls the memories out of Gemma was just beautiful, and it made me want to cry. So I'll let you talk now.
So yeah, overall, I think most people are very satisfied with the finale. There are some people that had a few issues. I know definitely the Felinda fans, for the most part, were really kind of bummed out. They sort of intimated in the middle of the episode about their new differences, and sort of at the end that they might be sort of connecting or something, but it was definitely nothing very concrete. So I know there were quite a few comments on that. My quick little thing on James' performance playing Garrett, I completely agree. He wasn't trying to do an impression of his dad doing Garrett. He just played the role and naturally inhabited it and brought all of those characteristics. He even made a little Texas reference in the beginning, which made me think of you, Don. Sort of bringing up that background. So I love that. I also had to agree that he drops and the team was like, yeah, new timeline, it could be different, and then he's dead. And they're like, oh no, he was horrible. You guys did the right thing.
He was a double agent anyway, so yeah, sure,
Exactly. Yeah, they were happy to throw him under the bus, and understandably so. So actually, I do want to get into a few different things, and I'm going to pull off some of the comments that we have, because I think you in the chat and those who have left comments on my review, a lot of stuff in on the same line. And primarily, let's talk about Sybil, because our big bad gets taken out with the arrival of the cavalry, and we never see her again. They don't refer to her. She doesn't come up. She doesn't get the empathy big. She doesn't do any of that, which another thing we'll get to. But yeah, that I actually had to go back and rewind, because somebody was like, yeah, and she just disappears. And I'm like, that's right. What did happen to her? And yeah, Maeve drops down, knocks her out, I guess. And then we never see her again. So kind of an odd way to get rid of our, I mean, I guess the Nathaniel Daisy fight was kind of the big bad fight, but let's be honest, man. Sybil had been running the show a heck of a lot longer than Malik there.
Yeah, but Sybil was never a fighter, though. Remember, the hunters were there to do all of the fighting. Because remember, even Enoch wasn't a fighter. Enoch was originally just an anthropologist, so he had to get the hunter programming upgrade in order for him to even be able to do any fighting in the past couple of seasons. And Sybil, Sybil, for lack of a better term, was a dispatcher. I mean, seriously, Sybil, for lack of a better term, was a dispatcher. Her job was, oh, hey, we need hunters to go here and kill these people. Okay, you got it, boss. That was pretty much it.
But usually you did get that one shot, she pulls her stuff up just before the whole place explodes and she gets stuff. No! I mean, I don't know. To me, that kind of goes up, and that's one thing with the end that I do actually want to question and get your guys' opinion about, because the one thing that they did do with the whole brand new, I'm going to give them empathy thing, which I guess is another one of May's new powers, but they tend to fall into the long line of, we do one thing that takes all of the enemies out at once. And especially giving empathy, does that make them friends? I mean, I was expecting like maybe they'd have some emotional reaction that it's sort of freak, but automatically they were like, they pulled the Enoch line. We are friends as we have always been. And again, while it was a great dramatic moment and it was kind of a cool callback to Enoch and so on, do we feel that's an appropriate? And then of course all the ships just blow up. I know they blow up the one ship when Daisy and Nathaniel do his, and that caused all the other ships to just blow up. It just, I know I'm bouncing around here a little bit. I guess one of the things that I've gotten repeatedly in the comments, Kaya had mentioned it, Pelican Mike had mentioned it, I've seen it in the chat. Overstuffed was a term that was constantly used, with also a lot of stuff that could have been done if those two things can exist at once. So yeah, just briefly, you guys have any thoughts on the Sybil ending or the quick removal of the Chromicons? Any insights or thoughts on comments on that?
Well, I always assumed that she blew up. I thought she like tried to run, like did the villain run. We don't see it, but I was taking these, leaps myself that she failed and she blew up when the ships blew up. But you're right. You usually get the whole, last look of somebody that is about to lose. That's really about to lose, and we didn't get it. She just vanished. We didn't even, even Nathaniel. Technically, he just got blasted back, and he didn't get a last moment. He just gone. It all kind of, it felt like it took a long way to get to a really kind of quick, that's it. The empathy thing, I mean, I think we were talking about this a long time ago when she first started feeling it and brought up the subject of what if we don't know the extent of her powers, if she just made these people, change, did something so impactful that she, messes with them. I think we brought that up like weeks ago, but it's so long ago that I mean, it's still weird though when all of a sudden they just drop their weapons like nothing.
Corey in the chat was mentioning when, and yes, I recall back when she was doing the fans episode. I think that was one of the things that she had brought up was that, oh no, she's going to give him empathy. Did a total call on that one. Corey, good job. But yeah, so I mean, it was one of those things that was brought up. But I mean, I don't know. Again, not that I'm against it, and I love the Enoch line and everything like that. It just seemed, I don't know, kind of simplistic, and I guess that's the feeling. It was the big buildup, even the end is at hand of the first episode was just sort of the rescue bit of Gemma. And then the whole final Fitz's return and the whole final battle gets squeezed into the last episode, plus the goodbyes. And maybe it was just because that was sort of a lot to deal with in one episode.
Yeah, I think, like a lot of the things that we wanted to see that we would have preferred the way this would have gone really shows again how much they weren't allowed to spend. They spent a lot on the visual effects. It was all glorious, but like as far as getting all this extra stuff, all these cool ideas that we had with portals and guest stars and, a real fight as a real group instead of just some simple, like Chronicoms didn't really seem like a threat. Nathaniel never really seemed like a threat. Cora, is the character that, is the key. All these little simple things that it feels like, they were stuck with this 13 episode season. As much as we wanted to see them deviate from what they were doing, it really does feel like it's just they were constrained to really following a really strict budget, and they had to play this out. Now, it really was an oversimplified ending, and they really did jam it all in at the end, because a lot of times when you're watching these kind of finales, I always feel like they're not getting to things quick enough. And they're like, how are you going to do this? And that's what it felt like here too. was, how are you going to tell us all this backstory? How are you going to tell us a satisfying ending? How are you going to say your goodbyes properly? And it did about as good as a lot of other shows do. But I think I expected more. And but at the time, and still, I'm trying not to be overly critical of it, because I just understand that we're just so lucky to have an ending at all.
True.
That I can forgive a lot of it. And it wasn't one of those kind of endings where it tarnishes the entire series, like Lost or the Sopranos ending, like where some people just, I haven't gone back to some of these because I think about where it all is going.
Mm-hmm.
So as simplified as it was, the things that they got right, the things that were great were really, really great. And I'm trying not to, and usually I'm the one that really goes after them on these things. But for some reason, like I said, the Chronicom's heart grew 3 times that day. And I'm gonna say it about myself about this finale is I'm allowing my heart to be unchanged by the feelings that I have internally as a reviewer, that it could have been better and better handled. And maybe that's wrong of me, but I'm giving it a pass. I'm giving it a pass. I have to.
Well, and I think that was one of the things that I had mentioned on mine, is that he kind of had to look at this 2 different ways, is because I think as an ending, it was serviceable. I mean, we got our characters back. We had a nice reflection. I love the overlay back into the finale from season 6 with Piper and Flint and the whole, what Gemma and Fitz were doing there. I mean, there was a lot of good stuff that was done this, and we had some great callbacks. I loved, Han being the one that shot Garrett. We had the little device that Mac used, was a flashback all the way back into season 1. I mean, so we had a lot of moments. Again, the Calvary line, which was perfect. I mean, there's a full circle right there. So, and even in the goodbyes, I think that there was a way to, by jumping that out that year later and just showing us, yeah, these people are just doing their lives and things move on. And that doesn't mean that they've forgotten each other or don't appreciate their time. They're just moving on. They're moving forward. They're doing different things. I think from all that standpoint, all of it worked. But yeah, there were just some odd moments and some things where, let's see, one of the mentions, Kaya in one of the comments had mentioned about Daisy, that they gave her a boyfriend and sister in the second half of the season and spent no time really developing those. I mean, they did a little bit, but you could see that, and maybe that's just because we get 13 episodes instead of the 22, and they've got to squeeze a whole lot of storyline into a small thing. So, like I said, I do think that it worked, and I mean, I certainly, when it ended, I was like, okay, everybody's alive, like you said. There's the plus. But yeah, Don, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, well, listen. First off, whose relationship is more believable, Sousa and Daisy, or Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen?
Fair
I
point.
mean,
Fair
and,
point.
and think about it. They had less time to develop that relationship, and somehow Sousa and Daisy comes off as more realistic than Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, who had 2 whole seasons together. Um, you know, listen. At the end of the day, I'm glad Piper and Davis back. I mean, yeah, he might be LMD Davis, but I mean, look, Piper and Davis grew on me as a duo. You know, oh, we we finally got Mac to say Tremors again. It's been seasons. Like
It has
like
been,
when's the
yeah.
last time he called Daisy Tremors? It's been a long time. Uh, I mean, look, there was a lot to like about this, and yeah, we can nitpick it to death, but think about how many how many shows you sat through. And I mean, think of it. I'm not a big Whedonverse guy, right? But the thing that I always hear about Whedon shows is that people got to suffer in the end, right? You can't just have a happy ending. And so, just with that in mind, remember, I was the guy predicting all season Mac's not making it out of here.
Yeah.
I was the guy saying the entire time they're going to kill Mac. Mac has got to die.
Now he's Nick Fury. Looking
You know?
good.
So, I mean, we got Coulson, who has got an even better Lola, and he has the button, so he gets to decide whether or not he, wants to keep on with his existence. May finally is at peace. I mean, think about it. When we started off, May was the person just looking always to get into a fight with someone. She never wanted to talk anything out with anybody. And now she's a lecturer. Who would have watched any part of season 1 and thought that May, at the end of all of this, is going to be giving lectures on how to, be an agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. We got we got Fitz and Simmons finally, after all this time, getting their happy ending.
Yeah.
I can't front though. When I saw Aaliyah, I was like, wow, okay. I understand that
she's a cute little girl.
She is, but I'm like, how is she so blonde compared to those two? I'm like, Jenna's got dark brown hair, and Fitz is kind of blonde, but like almost dirty blonde a little bit with a little hint of red. I mean, she came out super blonde. I'm like, did they bleach her hair before they put her in that little time capsule or something? I was just like, I'm like, wow. All right, I guess this works, but like, how did she get that blonde? That was just weird to me. That just was the thing that stuck out.
Fair point. I was super blonde when I was her age. When I was a little kid, I was like,
oh, really? Oh, you know what? I gotta see this because I'm like, wow. My hair has always been one color, so like I'm just like, okay, but I mean, listen, I love the fact that they, and I'm gonna have to go back and watch again just to kind of see the sequence of events and how it all adds up.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they had Aaliyah there with them. They tell Piper and Davis, "Hey, watch this thing, guard it with your life. We're gonna be right back." Gemma comes right back with Fitz, but then they're like, "Wait, didn't we just see you get in this thing?" It's like, "Yeah, but we got something in the back that you need to be watching." You're like, "Wait, there's a back to this thing?" Like, you got another door with another compartment that you didn't tell us about?
Well, you can't have her scared to death when her daddy disappears into the quantum realm right in front of her. So you got to give her a separate room, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, but they didn't tell Piper and Flint about that, though.
It's true.
I'm still kind of wondering how Flint is alive, seeing as how technically, technically speaking, he was made up from the fear dimension. So, like, everything else that came from the fear dimension, like disappeared after a while. I'm like, how was Flint still here? Let's somehow maybe they pulled him from the other timeline.
Well, actually, the monolith creates things. The third monolith creates what you can imagine. So that was it. That was used in order to create him, and he's a non-permanent thing. It's the same thing where Catch Putic, where the Sarge's character was formed out of. He happened to go into the fear dimension, but the actual monolith's job is creation, if I remember correctly. So he
All right, but whatever the monolith creates is actually permanent then.
Yes,
because I could have.
they were a little iffy
Okay.
on that.
Yeah, because I'm like, wait, wasn't the whole thing with the monoliths also that like, yeah, it creates stuff, but it doesn't, it wasn't like, because didn't Izel kill somebody who was created from the monolith, or like disintegrate somebody that was created from the monolith?
Yes.
Like
I said, they were a little iffy on it, but they never really said the permanency aspect of the things that are made. I think the fear dimensioners that had pulled at us because people tend to fear all of those things. Honestly, it's been a while since I saw season 6, so I'd have to I'd have to sort of rewatch. But they do touch on the fact of the creation aspect, and that's what the monolith balance all was, or something along those lines.
It was interesting though, to see them with the sequence of events from the end of season 6, where Simmons shows up with the people in hazmat suits, and now we're finding out that the people in hazmat suits was the team from the future, and not even Simmons knew that they were the team from the future.
Yeah, that was kind of cool. I said I love that overlay into the end of 6 that they did. That was a really fun bit.
It showed how much
I'm not sure
was up to, and Enoch. It showed the level of detail there, and it's like it when you hear this part of the episode, or this part of the finale. It's so smart and so well put together that it makes you like people have been talking about in the comment section about some of the writers not being there that left before the finale. It just is like, why couldn't they have structured the entire finale as smart as just that sequence of explaining the events surrounding 6, 7, and everything that fits in Enoch and Gemma have been up to? That part was like that probably my favorite part of the entire episode was just that part, because it just, at least it felt like old Shield, not like they were trying to, wrap up the series. They were just like, this is what we do. I loved that so much. And it took me, how the rest of the show, you could almost say, could take you, when it went back to the regular show, I should say, I kind of fell out of the show, like, because I was like, oh, wait, let's go back to more of that. I just want more of that. Just keep explaining things for another half an hour, Fitz. I'm fine with that. I don't care what you tell me. Sybil's gone, whatever.
Sure.
Just tell me, like, figure out a way to rebuild Enoch in the next half hour while they all reminisce. I don't care anymore. Like, somebody, hold the baby. I honestly thought that this was going to get wrapped up before the end of the first episode. I thought we were going to have almost a whole hour of just kind of wrapping up the characters in the world and fixing the timelines and things. And that's just not what we got. And I wish that this was at least 3 more episodes longer. Mm-hmm. Because like you said, yeah, the time that Daisy and Sousa had might have meant more. I mean, yes, it's definitely better than John and Daenerys. But also we could have developed Cora better. We could have developed Nathaniel better. We could have seen maybe more of the Chronicoms. Maybe we could have introduced other characters besides Sybil that would maybe feel like they were more of a threat. Mm-hmm. But again, I keep trying to remind myself again, we're just lucky
but it's hard not to discuss these things that are irritating. They really are. I mean, like I said, I had to stop myself in my review because it was going to turn into another Korra tirade. I was able to pull myself back for the most part, but when it came out, and that's when I, like, after watching your review, D, I was like, oh wow, like I honestly expected, like, you were surprisingly, and not that it wasn't deserved, but like I was shocked by your review, because it made me, but it also kind of made me realize that there were problems here that I was choosing to ignore, which is just not like me.
Mm-hmm.
But because I mean, I was saying things like, yeah, great, Korra saves the day, now shoot her in the back of the head.
That's a little harsh.
Or that she sounded like a child, literally she didn't sound like a grown woman through that entire episode. She sounded like this. And I'm not exaggerating. She did. She's just, I don't believe you. This is bad.
It's funny that you say that.
Oh.
Haley's Tusk. Haley's, I think you're in the chat here as well. She had left a comment kind of along those lines. The fact is, I guess listening to Elizabeth Henstridge's sort of a little watch along videos, live stream type of stuff, you get to meet all the actors, and of course, the lady who plays Korra, the guy who plays Nathaniel. They're nice people. They're very excited about being on the show. You know, the heart's there. So yeah, it can make us feel a little bad about harping on them, you know, and I don't, and I guess that's where everything has to be kind of really measured when we do, because it's just that characterization just isn't translating and working. I don't, you know, I'm not harping on Nathaniel, the actor who plays him, or the actor that plays Korra. There were definitely moments for each of them that I thought that they did really well. I love Nathaniel's character in the beginning. I just didn't really see him go anywhere. He just fell into the, you know, I'm Hydra. I want to rule the world for some reason, and I'm gonna get it. I think somebody put on the fact that he's dealing with daddy issues the whole time, like he's just trying to impress his dad, and he does, you know, in retrospect, sort of, he comes off that way.
Yeah, it seemed like the more he pushed on that, the more it was the opposite answer. The more it really was that it really is about your dad. Just like how Garrett would say it wasn't about my family. It wasn't all, you know, or he'd always blame his family and not himself. It just felt like the more he pushed on it, the more you know that the truth is exactly what he's lying about. Mm-hmm. And all the Maliks may be dead by him, but he's still trying to live up to it. And I never felt like if there was going to be a scene in here, it really should have been Sybil turning on him. We should have gotten that. Because she really was seemingly kind of done with him. And there was no reason for her to honor their agreement. There was no reason for her to not pull the wool out from under him, or the rug out from under him. Like, really was going to let him rule? Really was going to let him just take over Earth and all that? No, none of that was going to happen. So it would have been at least satisfying if the villains at least would have gone at each other. But we didn't even get that. And that was another kind of like slight disappointing thing, is that if we were going to be wrong about so many things, at least let that one little thing be right, because then it would have at least made the villains maybe a little more interesting as far as just them turning on each other. And like, I know I've harped on Korra, and I know that I'm sure she's a lovely actress. And like I said, I just think that it's just suffered from not enough time, because yeah, like you said, bringing her in the 11th hour, we've talked about this, adding this character all the way at the end, and then making her the key to everything, just really feels like you were taking away time from our stars that could have gone to any of our characters, any of them, to get a heroic moment out of, rather than that. I mean, I would have even rather have seen Garrett stick around and have a bigger hero moment than that. But it just wasn't to be. And, you know, she's still out there. She's out there with Susan and Daisy out in space, presumably. You know, maybe they'll throw her into a sun. I don't know. But,
well, again, it keeps the theme. What we're fighting for is family, and that's something
Yes.
Daisy has always wanted. She thought she had it with the team, and now she has an actual family. So
Yes.
yeah,
One on Earth and one in space.
Um, yeah, there was another comment that was that somebody had mentioned with the whole like hologram ending. You know, Fitz had said in the bar, "This will be the last time that we are all in the same room together. That's not a hologram room." But seriously, they can't meet for lunch at some time. They're all that busy and spread out. You can't give it even a few people together.
I mean, well, look, I
I mean, if
think,
you have the tech, it makes it easier.
yeah, I mean, look, I think whatever whatever mission Shield is still conducting has at least two people that are just that are that are just too out of it in the field to do this kind of hey, let me fly halfway around the world to come and have lunch with you guys, and that's the director and his girlfriend, right?
Right.
Uh, you know, I think Fitz and Simmons, with as much as they've been through, I don't think they ever want to go back to any of those places physically ever again.
They deserve their own life. Yeah, I agree.
You know, uh, Daisy is now being mother. Yeah, is being mother slash sister slash girlfriend to Cora and Sousa because remember, she's got to teach them about a world they've never been to at all. Because remember, Cora died back in the early '80s, and Sousa's is from the 1950s. They know nothing about the 2010s or 20s at all. So,
And they're in space now.
and they're in space now. Daisy's been in space before. Neither of them have. So she's got to teach them about, about like 30 to 40 years of technological history plus outer space as well. And yeah, listen, Coulson is trying to figure out what he is, and I think May is just like, look, you know what? I don't have to fight anymore. I can use my words now. Yeah, so I think that it's probably best for them that they're not, actively trying to seek being in the same square for a little while. Let it be a thing where they link up holographically every now and then in a few years, once once everyone's probably decided, what, we're all going to do the Fitzsimmons thing and retire, because you can't do that kind of job, for decades. You just
Sure.
can't. I think give it like 5 more years, they'll all be retired, and then they'll all, get into the same place. Hey, like I said, last mission together doesn't mean that last time they ever have to, you know, uh, be friends or be a family together, though.
Mm-hmm. Fair enough.
I also I want to mention something that somebody just put in the chat real quick. That don't forget about rewatching Dee's reviews, old reviews on this show if you want to watch it, and that's very true. Also, I've got my own reviews of the old episodes. We've got season 1 and 2 and part of 3. You guys can rewatch my takes on those old episodes as well on Smirking Gun reviews. But also, like Corey mentioning the writers thing, we did not forget to mention that for you. That we did understand that that part of it, that could have played a big role in if you lost the writers from the show, that can play a huge role in how things play out, especially if somebody had the tone down and then somebody has to just come in and try to just throw something together, because rushed is a thing that did feel like on her. I did watch part of Henstrich's live stream, and she talked about, one of the things that stuck with me was her saying that this was filmed over a year ago. And it's like, I remember over a year ago, they had just, they were doing the Comic-Con circuits. They were running around. They were doing a lot of stuff. And it just proves again, like, if this had been taken a little bit of time, but I feel like they were kind of pushed to get this done. And, the stories suffer for it and the scripts suffer for it. Not the performances really. I mean, except they can only do so much with what they've got. But yeah, I mean, that can play a huge part in it. Like, we know what the writer's strike did to a lot of shows back in, like, I want to say almost the late 2000s, right?
The early, early to
It
mid
damaged
aughts.
a lot of shows, and that was just a few months. And it changed the course of a lot of shows. And this, some guys leave after, 3 episodes left in a series, and that probably threw things quite off. So yeah.
So yeah, they definitely had their challenges in the production for sure, and doing 2 seasons back to back. And they had thought that the show was over, and we were very excited when they're like, "No, we're going to give you 2 more seasons, but they're half season, and they're shooting it all right now." And though on the plus side, didn't have to worry about COVID, so we did get all of the show shot and produced and done. The effects were done months and months and months ago. So, honestly, the fact that in the midst of all of this, we still get a, pretty satisfying Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season, with, again, a lot of great episodes through this season, a lot of great moments, a lot of great callbacks. Did it fill everybody's checklist fan, hopes and dreams? No, but no show's gonna do that. But I think overall for what they had for the time allowed, I mean, like I said, Dom's not burning his Blu-ray collection, so we
And
ended up on the plus side.
even though we kind of talked about, not wanting it to be too open-ended, whether Disney does anything right away or not, I don't think they're not the kind of people that sit on a property for too long without doing something, even something horrible with a property, even something misguided, even something that they change so much that you don't even recognize it anymore.
Oh man.
So it doesn't mean that, like, even if a lot of the people that want to predict things down the future, the way that they left these characters open and the opportunities that they have for Disney Plus to bring it back in even a limited capacity as Agents of S.W.O.R.D. or whatever, all these characters could be brought back in a limited capacity just to satisfy that little bit of this, fan service that we want in something, and show that everybody's still out there. Because I don't believe for a second that Fitz is fully retired. Okay. He may be watching the baby, but in the basement, he's doing something.
He's doing stuff. He's doing
stuff. Okay. He's there. Yeah. If you can't sleep when you have a young kid, you might as well be working on things. Right. So,
yeah.
I could definitely see people popping in on something. I don't think we've seen the last of all these, but like they said, it's the last time they'll probably be all in the same room or the same show together. It just doesn't mean that we're done completely. And I have hope that somewhere in the next few years we'll see something. I would hope it's just a limited series if they do something, or maybe a movie, like a made for Disney Plus movie that they could crank out and hopefully be all right. Maybe do a series of them, or one every couple of years. Who knows? And bring in new cast members and stuff like that. And come on, if they bring in, like Chloe Bennett's young, and with the de-aging that they've been doing with things, and heck, Ming Na's in her 60s and she looks still pretty good. So she can still kill it, right? So as much as there's always ways for them to come back and do more, and I hope that we see it. But if we don't, this was a more than serviceable end to the show, as much as we didn't get to check off all the boxes. Because I mean, those quiet moments, like we didn't get a final real Phil Coulson speech that we could have gotten. It was given, that was kind of given more to Daisy. But I tip my hat to them, because they had to do a lot with a little amount of time. and a little amount of money. And you know, if we don't, if we all we do is tell them what we didn't like about it, then they're gonna probably think that there's no interest in it. And you know, the more love we can show these little shows that could, these little shows that finally, you know, actually got endings. How many of our shows are left on cliffhangers that you'll never see an end to? You know, even silly shows like Alf, you know, or Mork and Mindy, you know, left on such a horrible cliffhanger. All these shows are like, and I'm showing my age just then.
Oh no,
Like,
no, that's
so
fine.
all these things that just all of a sudden just end, that we don't get endings for. Not everything gets to be Breaking Bad or 6 Feet Under or the X-Files, or well, the X-Files went on too long, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Excellent.
I mean, listen, you know, for one, we definitely have to give it up to ABC for, or Disney or whoever decided, you know what, 5 seasons, it was okay, go to 7.
Yeah. No,
Because
total
you
ABC
know,
right there. Yeah.
yeah, because you know, it was supposedly end of season 5, you know, they were thinking they were done. They were like, okay, you know, season 5 is gonna be the end, and literally, I think the last episode was called The End.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're thinking, okay, we're gonna be done, and then somebody was like, nope, you got the green light for 2 more seasons. Yeah, they're gonna be shorter, but I mean, think about how many shows never even got that, where it was just like, if they got an end, it was the end. It was like, all right, here, you know, you got your walking papers and you're done. So, you know, to whoever you know made that decision, you know, it was a blessing to us, because now we get to be here doing this, and you know, talking with the people who are watching, um, and getting to express how, you know, how grateful we are that we've had this for this long. You know, um,
I think that's an excellent point.
yeah, man. I mean, listen, we got Clark Gregg, who started off in the original Iron Man, and now has probably been um, the longest running MCU character as
Yeah.
Phil Coulson. You
Yeah.
know, we
Longer than
got
Robert Downey Jr. even.
right. I mean, listen, we
Screen
got
time alone.
we got characters who, you know, were brand new actors that we've never seen before, uh, dynamics that we had never really encountered before with regards to, you know, these different kinds of shows. I mean, listen, the Hydra reveal, even though, like, if this was a lesser show, the Hydra turn would have totally killed it. It could, the Hydra reveal could have totally just destroyed the show, and it could have been one season and then done. But they managed to take that, turn it around, and actually make the show better from there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Because they, you know, Grant Ward not being the stereotypical, oh yeah, he's the hero, you know, Mister I'm the square jawed hero that comes in and saves the day all the time. It's like, no. Now there's a much deeper level than you ever would have thought possible. And now the guy who's supposed to be the classical hero is now one of your big bads. And well, yet you still can root for him. You
And
know,
develop that character in a much more interesting arc from that point as well. I mean, I like Grant, but he was a little boring over on because he was just filling that sort of, frat boy role. But he
mm-hmm.
got to go into several interesting iterations and directions afterwards, through season 2 and then into 3 and then into Hive. And, you know,
Mm-hmm.
never would have had the chance with the character if they kept with the original premise.
Right.
Definitely one of the biggest, like, and holds up as like such a subversion of expectations kind of character that any show has ever done, ever. And the fact, like you said, that they were able to develop him into such a powerhouse all the way through to near the end of season 3, but didn't overstay its welcome, and then still found ways to use that character in the future. It's amazing what they've been able to pull off year after year with things like that other shows just didn't do. Always pulling off that surprise, that the way subversion of expectations is supposed to work, and they did it on a TV show, and that's pretty unheard of, in my opinion. Most shows aren't Breaking Bad. Most shows aren't going to fool you all the time. But a little spy show on ABC, an offshoot of the Marvel universe that I had no previous interest in, became like this hugely well-written, twisty show that never ever like let you down in those aspects ever. Even in the times that I didn't enjoy it all the time, I could always say that I never saw things coming. And I always see things coming. I look at how we predict this stuff. I mean, even in the predictability of this finale, we didn't see that coming. As much as that we didn't want everything that happened, it was like I didn't see them doing the predictable thing.
Yeah.
It's even in that aspect, even if that wasn't something we wanted, they still kept doing that to us. And that's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, think about it. Leopold Fitz, who was the classic Mr. I'm just a nerdy guy who, he's pining after his partner. You're thinking Fitz and Simmons is never going to be a thing. He's, the doctor in the framework. Totally against the character that you've grown to know. Him having to deal with the brain trauma and coming back from that. Him with his adventures in Enoch in space trying to save the team and showing that he is going to go through time and space to get his woman. When he takes off the mask, in on Caecilius's ship, and they just look like, I'm sorry, since when did Fitz become a damn space cowboy here? Come on, Gemma, who could have been just another nerdy kind of damsel in distress. She had to, fight her way against Hive on that planet alone. She turns out to be super badass throughout the entirety of season 6 and 7. Daisy, who, honestly speaking, when season 1 when it started off, I was like, okay, what the hell is going on here? But then by season 2, the opening of season 2, with her and May in the field with both of them side by side kicking ass, come on, the evolution of these characters is something that doesn't even happen on a lot of shows, to where, again, had this been a lesser staff, this show would have ended after season 3 at most. It would 3 seasons. All right, now we're done. No, this is going nowhere.
If it was Netflix, that's totally what they would have done.
Right. I mean, listen, Mac was a character who I was up. He shows up in season 2, Mr. I work for S.H.I.E.L.D., the real S.H.I.E.L.D. I was just like, if he says the real S.H.I.E.L.D. one more damn time, and he becomes the director. All signs, there's no way anyone is telling me that when Mac showed up on the show, Mister The Real Shield, that there was any chance that you were thinking he's going to be the team leader one day.
Never would have thought it.
Never. Never in a million years. You know, Coulson is the leader, period, point blank. It doesn't even, no. There's no way that, Coulson gives up leadership to anybody. I mean, come on. They did their own rendition of Ghost Rider, and our boy Johnny was in here earlier with the hashtag not my Ghost Rider. Screw you, Johnny. All right. That was
Respectfully.
no. I know him, so disrespectfully.
Okay. All right, then the heck with him. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, listen, you get Ghost Rider in here. You get, I mean, like, as far as comic book shows are concerned, DC, Marvel, like, because let's be honest, it's that's the whole thing right now. The Boys, Umbrella Academy, and Walking Dead, and other comic book related shows, they get judged on their own merit, and no one's really going to compare them to a DC or Marvel show. It's like, as long as you're good, you're fine. No one's ever going to be like, oh, but did you see what they did here? Aha, take that, Marvel. Whereas the Marvel and DC, it's always going to be the back and forth between those two. And look, as much as I like some of the CW shows, they are just not going to compare to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. They can't. You might have a standout episode or two. You might have a standout arc from one of those shows. I'm sorry, they can't compare to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. No. And I'm talking from all the CW Arrowverse shows to the DC Universe shows. When it comes to live action, Marvel has got it hands down, especially with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
Say what you will about, the cartoons, yada, yada, yada. Okay, DC's got that. But when it comes to live action, long form shows, there's absolutely no way that you get better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. When it comes to the Marvel DC debate.
Yeah. Silver Surfer in the chat hits it right there. AOS has the best character development ever on a show. Completely agree. The way they've constantly able to reinvent. In fact, that is something that Corey had mentioned out, how they are able to reinvent the show every season. Continually change characters, continually change approaches, beings, themes. They make it new. That's the one thing that you can't say, is that each season is repetitive of the season before. And that's what you do get with a lot of the CW shows. And I watch many of them.
Flash.
Yeah. But it's the same arc every season. And in this show, totally different. Totally different every time.
And the funny thing is, for especially I would say the two biggest shows from the CW, The Flash and Arrow, right?
Yeah.
It's not that they don't even use the same villain all the time, and somehow the story still ends up the same. They use different villains every season, and somehow it still feels like a repeat of the previous season before.
I can't run fast enough. Oh yeah, I guess I can.
Yeah. Well, no, it's another guy with arrows.
Or sword. Sword. But yet somehow Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is able to take some of the same villains through multiple seasons and not have it felt like a repeat at all. Grant Ward was a villain for 2.5 seasons, and yet somehow it never felt as though, oh, here we go, it's Ward again. Oh my God, we have to do award again. Even when they got rid of Hydra for a little while, they brought Hydra back, and it wasn't like, oh, we got to deal with Hydra. Oh my God, Hydra. The Inhumans. You had some of them die off, some new ones come back in, some old ones come back, and it never felt like, okay, are we going back to Afterlife now? Who else is
No,
going to hit with Terrigen Crystal? And someone turned into the husk and yada yada. No, never. And even think about it. We've had practically 2 seasons of the Chronicons, right?
right?
Because even though the Chronicons weren't, the major villains in season 6, when they did become villains, they were villains. But season 6 Chronicons versus season 7 Chronicons almost feels like two different sets of storylines, even
Mm-hmm.
though it's the same storyline, and it doesn't feel like it's a retread of what they've done before.
Right.
You know, and look. I mean, someone just brought up. You got Cal, Ratcliffe, Carl Crusher, Creel, the Absorbing Man. Come on, young Garrett. Even we talked about how Garrett was different this time around. You
Mm-hmm.
know, I mean, and that's the thing that I mean, like that I'm really really gonna miss. Is the fact that we're not gonna. I don't know if there's gonna be a team that's gonna be able to develop characters in this kind of way anymore, man. And like I said, and people are bringing it up in the chat, the different characters who have been on throughout the years. Bobby, we got Bobby and Lance, who
Oh yeah.
I'm so pissed that they never got their show. I'm so pissed that they never
Oh
got
yeah.
their show.
There's a lot of little harshness because they were an awesome pairing there.
You
Well, look, we're looking up on an hour and 20 minutes here, so I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap things up. Obviously, you can tell there is so much more to talk about, not just this episode, but Shield in general. So why don't we? That's right, folks. This isn't the end of Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. We got more shows coming your way. Now, we are going to take a little break, but we're going to use that time to rewatch old seasons. We're going to come back. We're going to add a new person in for Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. Corey, who is in the chat right now. She is our own Agent Carter, and she will be jumping in for a season by season review of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We're going to cover every season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Plus, we're going to throw in some Agent Carter as well, all of Agent Carter. We're going to cover those 2 seasons plus her one shot. We are doing the whole S.H.I.E.L.D. Carter TV Marvel universe here. We're going to see how it all links together. And, it's great. Daniel gives us a nice little arc in the midst between those two, as well as a lot of Carter and flashbacks and characters that go back and forth between the two. So keep an eye on the channel. We're going to send notifications out for you. Like I said, it's probably going to be a little break. We definitely want to take some time, not just read up our own little like summations. We don't want to just go and get the Wikipedia. Oh, these are the episodes. Oh yeah, I remember I liked this one and something out of this one. Now, man, we're diving in. Each show will be a full season review. We're going to talk about the shows that we like, things that we didn't like. We're going to talk about as the season as a whole. So keep an eye out for the return of myself, Don, Rob, and Corey from the chat. We'll be jumping in for an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season by season review. But that's not all we're doing, of course, because next month we have the boys coming in. Fans of the boys are going to be here Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, 8 Central, 9 Eastern, if I get that all out again. And then, of course, I believe in October we will have The Mandalorian. So, a lot of stuff for this trio to be chatting about and more. Oh, that's awesome. That is awesome. So keep an eye out for things. Watch the Twitter feeds, watch the notifications here on YouTube. You'll be able to know when all of these things will be coming out. Love that. All right, so let's give our goodbyes. Rob, we're going to have you start off. Any last little words, and then let people know where they can find you.
Just the journey is not over. We're, like he said, we're going to continue on, and we're going to be doing our research. We're going to be doing some proper research to make sure we give you guys a real accounting of each season that's going to feel as satisfying as watching one of our reviews or one of our shows here. Except you're going to get 3 or 4 of us, like talking about it. As far as where you can find me and what's going on. Well, first off, let's just say this. Next Wednesday, we are continuing with my Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 3 reviews. So next Wednesday, you can come to Smirking Gun Reviews and get your weekly fix of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I think we're on Season 3, Episode 2 or 3. So we're right at the beginning of Season 3. Because now that I'm talking about this again and feeling it, and I'm not letting go, I'm going to keep reviewing the show until I get all the way caught up to where I left off at the end of Season 5. So I have like 3 seasons to cover still. But Smirking Gun Reviews is where you can find me. On Twitter, it's @reviews_gun. On Twitch, it's Smirking Gun Plays. And right now we are playing Rise of the Tomb Raider. But we're also playing The Wolf Among Us. And I think we're going to dabble in a little bit of silliness and play some of that Fall Guys game as well. So that's where I'm at.
All right. Don, final thoughts and let people know where they can find you.
Well, one final thought, and this is something I had actually meant to bring up before, and that is Grant Ward. I was going to talk about the implications of John Garrett being killed by Victoria Hand, and that is Grant Ward probably gets to be a very good person in Deke's timeline. So hashtag still stand with Ward. All right. So look, I'm actually trying to work on doing an intro for my damn videos, and it's funny because I had an intro, and then I looked at someone else's video that has way more subscribers than me, and I was like, I got to scrap my intro because people are going to think that I copy his, even though I've had it for like a year just sitting in the vault. So now I got to figure out a new intro for my videos, and I'm finally gonna get to these House of the Dragon character profiles. So this way, when House of the Dragon comes out, you guys will already be caught up as to who's who in the Targaryen Civil War. Other than that, you can find me here with Darren and Rob, fans of S.H.I.E.L.D., fans of the boys, the Fandalorian, and whatever else we can fan out about. All right. So yeah, Darren, go ahead, take it away.
All right. Thanks so much, guys. And thank you, everyone who joined us in the chat. This is indeed our spies goodbye. Sorry, I don't have my glass in there. Got something. It's not a shot glass, but it's so good. And this is our big finale. Thank you guys for joining us here in the chat. And of course, every week we look forward to seeing you both with our season retrospectives and with our fan shows coming up. Obvious for me, I'm taking a little break. You will not see me again until Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. comes up. I may do 1 or 2 things. I've got a few projects floating around, but I've also got my daughter is just starting school and distance learning. So we're going to be doing some work and transition stuff here. I think that's going to warp my brain over the next couple of weeks. So thanks again for joining us live. Thanks all of you that are watching this in the archives. And we look forward to seeing you all very, very soon. I'm D, and I'm out of here. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye bye.
Don't touch